Hi, I'm 12 Eagle, Jason Berube, and I'm going to do something today that I've been wanting to do for a long time, which is start this show that helps people understand the different days of the Maya calendar. There are 20 of them. They all have different archetypes, and knowing which archetype is playing each day can really help you maneuver yourself through life. So today ends up being a day 13 Eagle. And so that's, of course, the one tone above 12 Eagle, which is my birthday. And it's the fulfillment of Eagle archetype sort of day. And eagles represent vision and stuff like that. So this is a vision I've had for a while to do this sort of show. And so I'm starting it today. We'll see how far I get. So eagles are really interesting animals. Let's face it, like, they're the only animal on the face of the earth that can look directly into the sun without going blind. Cool story. My teacher, Maestro Tlacalel, Mixteca Tolteca elder from Mexico, told me a long time ago, was that the speed of the mouse defines the grace of the eagle. And the story went something like, the mice go very fast through the fields, and the eagle has to be very keen to catch them. But if the mice was to go slower, well, the eagle wouldn't have to look so hard. And then he talked about the mice, they start to go so slow that the eagles, well, they don't even really have to fly to catch them anymore. They just kind of walk on the ground to catch them, and they end up losing their feathers one by one, until finally they lose all their feathers and they're just this bald creature walking around blind. I took it to mean that our challenges that come to us define our skills. They help us understand our strengths, what we're capable of, and also they hone our skills over time. We become even better at it, and hopefully on the journey of understanding the perfection of ourselves. What else do I want to share? Visions, some of the visions I've had. I haven't thought about them for a long time, but when I first started getting into my spirituality, back in like 91 and 92, I ended up having a series of visions that have inspired me throughout these years, and I haven't told many people about them. But one was especially powerful. It was a dream I had one day that I was living in North Andover at my parents' house, and I was waking up. It's one of those dreams where you wake up and you think you've really woken up, but the sun hadn't risen. I thought, oh wow, I haven't woke up at night for a while. And I got up and everyone else is up, and they were like, this is weird, the clocks say it's 8, but the sun hasn't risen. And so we just decided to stay home that day. The electricity wasn't working, and then, like in the dream, the next day came, the sun still hadn't risen, and this time I started to go out. I went to the old common ground in the middle of town, and it turns out a lot of other neighbors are going there, and it was more like, hey Joe, how you doing? Oh, good. Sun hasn't risen again today, huh? Pretty weird, huh? Yeah, funny thing about that. But there was no crazy violence or anything like end of the world scenario, normal dream or something. So the third day I wake up, and the sun still hasn't risen. And I end up going and talking with my grandma next door, and she tells me, you know how I know the ancestors have returned? I go, no, Gram. And she turns on the water, and the faucet, and the water starts going. I'm like, okay, Graham, the sun hasn't risen for 3 days, you can act a little strange. But then no, she's so normal enough, right? I'm like, yeah. She turns it on full blast. All of a sudden this blood red water comes out. and I woke up. And it was a crazy dream. So I've took it to mean that there's going to be a time of darkness that comes, and that there will be some sacrifice that happens that ends up helping the ancestors to return in a way that helps them help us remember ourselves as them. And so, anyways, we've just entered into the 5th night of the final underworld of creation in the Maya mythology, as interpreted by Kalaman, Dr. Kalaman. I'll tell you, knowing about this and seeing the cycles unfold has really helped me remain chill through all this craziness. I have a deep trust that creation knows what it's doing, and it didn't just create us in this solar system and on this planet just to have us destroy ourselves with nuclear war, or, you know, some prison planet. That's not what's for dinner. What's for dinner seems to be that our reaction to the grip of this force for control and power is what's going to bring out our strengths as a species. What's for dinner and what's on the menu is unity consciousness. It's an experience that each of us can and hopefully will have, of a blending of our intuition and our logic. And when this happens, we start to think clearly, maybe for the first time ever, and we see the connections between everything and everyone and feel it as real. It's not something we're going to have to have a lot of faith in. It's going to be the felt presence of immediate experience, as Terence McKenna would say. And when that happens, it's going to call us to react in ways that benefit the highest good of all involved. And we won't be so easily duped into supplying our consent for life based on comfortability at the expense of someone else's suffering. I think for too long, especially here in the West, we use up all the resources of the world, but the repercussions of that aren't necessarily taught to us. And if they are, we're so bombarded with advertising and everything else that it's hard to resist, especially since cradle to grave, you know, we've been taught that we need these things to be happy. But I think enough of us are coming to a point where we realize that's kind of a hollow promise, and really the thing that makes people happy is their friends and family and feeling loved and accepted. People who honor you for who you are and who will be straight up with you. That's pretty much all we all want, is to be recognized for who we are, to recognize ourselves for who we are, and to be able to recognize other people for who they are. And if you can do that, well, I think it'll be a lot easier for us to get along. So part of knowing who you are is learning about which day in the Tzolkin round of the Maya calendar you were born in a number and an archetype that kind of goes with it. It's like the astrological chart with Aquarius and Gemini and all that, except those are only 12, so instead there's 20. It's a bit more refined. And what Maestro says is that every 20 days the energy from the sun permeates the earth and bombards the earth with a different energy, and that's what they call solar glyphs, these solar lords, because they ride on the solar winds and influence us in that way. And that may be true, but regardless, I think it's a spiritual energy as well, been watching it unfold for some time, and it's pretty amazing. So I'm feeling like sharing a chant. I do this every day. I intone the Tzolkin calendar up until the day that we're at. And we're at a day 13 Men, or 13 Eagle today. And so I will chant through each of the Weanals, which is a 20-day period. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're into the 8th one right now. And so I'll chant the 20-day glyphs, and it's one of the last Tzolkin rounds of the long count calendar, if not the last. So it's a good energy to work with. It does show results, and I hope that maybe some of you will learn to do this, because it works for me. So I start out by chanting Hunab Ku, which in Yucatec Maya translates to something like the one giver of movement and measure. The movement is movement of energy and spirit that cools and crystallizes into matter, which can be measured. The symbol for it is like a tube torus curling in on itself, with 4 houses and 4 rays coming out of it, meaning the 4 directions and the dualities of each of those directions. Pretty powerful design. I draw it a lot. And then the second word I say is Kuksan Sun, which is the highway that leads to the stars. And that's in biblical chord to the center of creation. It comes out of our solar plexus and goes straight to the middle of the Hunab Ku, kind of directly connects us to that. And you can picture it as the center of the Milky Way. It's a Milky Way spinning. That would be the center of the Hunab Ku. That's our central heart of our mother. Galaxies are the biggest organic entities that we're aware of as a species. We look out there, we don't see anything bigger than galaxies. The galactic clusters, but galaxies are pretty much the biggest closed system. So if we're all cells in a bigger organism, then the galaxy would be that. And so maybe that's what this whole Great Awakening thing is, with the whole long count, is a timing chart for our species awakening to our feeling of oneness with the Milky Way. And when that happens, perhaps we come into some new abilities that we didn't have before. And maybe these abilities have to do with all this hero and superhero movies and all the stuff that's coming out these days. I mean, let's face it, if you knew about superheroes and superpowers like clairvoyance and telepathy and all that like 50 years ago, that meant you were like a 50-year-old dude living at home with your mom reading comic books. That's about the only people that knew about that stuff, and some science fiction readers or whatnot. But now, it's like the biggest thing in the world. You know, the Heroes show is huge, and the X-Men, just the idea of people with extra powers. This vision has come into the main media right now, I think for a reason. It's to get us all thinking of the possibilities of, wow, you know, we only use 10% of our brain, we only understand like 10% of our DNA or something like that. And, you know, what's all the rest of that for? It's like potential of some sort that we have yet to tap into. Some people talk about the intelligence being like that 10% that we use, but we have access to this whole extelligence, which taps into that other dormant part. And with that, you can experience higher levels of reality that are our birthright. We're going to be connected to a higher, well, we're already connected to a higher pantheon of entities, but we're just not aware of it. but we're becoming aware of it. Well, I guess before I chant, I'm going to show you some of these designs. I painted this one in, where was I, in Belize, I believe, at the beginning of the last Tzolkin round. And that's the symbol for today. It's men. It's the eagle. Yeah, see the eagle there? That's from one of the old codices, one of the only ones they didn't burn. And I drew it on a mate paper, which is what they used to draw the codices on. I use these for card readings. I do. Here's another one I did at the beginning of another Tzolkin round when I was doing collages. This one I did in Guatemala. I believe that was in 2008 at the beginning of the 5th night of the, I believe, the galactic cycle. And interestingly enough, at the beginning of that cycle, 1999 was the first time the Hubble telescope brought us back really detailed visions of the Milky Way galaxy through the Hubble telescope. Pretty cool stuff. And now you can fly 3D through it in movies and stuff. So there's that glyph for men. Old carving. There's the now what version. This guy's the Eagle Warrior. The Eagle Warriors were two of the Eagle Warrior. These guys were one half of the warrior society of the Maya. They had Eagle Warriors and Jaguar Warriors, a tradition that lasted all the way up through the Aztec Empire. The Eagle Warriors were the ones that were all buff and were out in the field and protecting the kingdom with their might and strength. Really, out there in the field, battlefield. While the Jaguar Warriors were the spies. They were the ones with cunning and deception. So, Jaguars rule at night, and the unknown and mysteries, and the Eagles rule the day. Like I say, they're the only animal that can look directly into the sun without going blind. Well, of course, it's the symbol of American freedom. The eagle is the bald eagle is the symbol of America. But we borrowed it from the Iroquois. The Iroquois Confederacy was a confederation of Native American nations that decided to live in peace, and it was the way they organized their democratic governments. And our founding fathers studied that and borrowed from it, and also borrowing from them the eagle and the many arrows that if you have them in a bunch you can't break them, but if you have them singly you can break them. Strength in numbers, a bunch of other stuff. So the only reason it doesn't work is because now we have corporate lobbying which buys out our representatives. So it's not really representative government if the person with the most money can just come in and buy the vote of whoever's been elected. With any luck, during the 5th night, in the next couple weeks or so, this will be seen for the sham it is. And just like in Spain, where everybody went down to the government center and was like, you know what, you guys have all been bought out by corporate lobbying, like, you're shut down, you're fired. Bye. And they just kind of stayed there, you know. That's what's going on in the world these days more and more. People are waking up to the fact that we've been duped and that the world is being run by just a small number of elites. And the way through this nightmare is by learning who we are, what we love to do, and doing that no matter what. So, that said, what I love to do is do art and make mandalas and collages, and I write music, and I chant. I chant the Mayan calendar. So I'm going to intone all the days of the Tzolkin round that have elapsed up until now. Tzolkin Chichan Kimi Manik Lamat Muluk Okchu Eneben Ishmen Sibanit Nab Kawaka Tzolkin Chichan Kimi Manik Lamat Muluk Okchu Eneben Ishmen Sibanit Nab Kawaka Tzolkin Chichan Kimi Manik Lamat Muluk Okchu Eneben Ishmen Sibanit Nab Kawaka
Imi shika Tzolkin shichan, imi manik lamad muluk ukchuen ben ishmen. Isibanet navtawaka Imi shika Tzolkin shichan, imi manik lamad muluk ukchuen ben ishmen. Hey yo, hunden. Hey yo, kamen. Hey yo, ushmen. Hey yo, kanen. Hey yo, hunden. Hey yo, walkmen. Hey yo, ukmen. Hey yo, washakmen. Hey yo, bolonmen. Hey yo, lahunmen. Hey yo, bulukmen. Hey yo, lakamen. Hey yo,
Oshlahunmen. So that was me counting through the 13 stages of the ego at the end. So anyways, that's what I do each day to find myself in the calendar and align myself and harmonize myself with it. Well, thanks again for joining me. I'm 12 Eagle, Jason Berube, and I look forward to sharing more about the different days of the calendar with you in the future. Thanks a lot.